Morning, everybody. I'm in the Wicklow Mountains National Park at the moment. Took advantage of a bit more sunshine. I've got another old thing to look at here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm on the top of a mountain, and that is a approximately 5,000-year-old portal tomb or passage tomb. I might be getting the names a little bit wrong, but it's a really interesting structure up here. You can't see it too well, but the base, there's a ring around the base of larger stones. The interior, they've got a series of larger stones creating a passage to the middle. At which point, there's after they piled up all these rocks, there's actually an aperture in the middle, so the sunshine gets directly down into the center of the passage too. I love this kind of stuff. If you've ever talked to me about anything history related, you know that already. But the fact that people wanted to bury their loved ones, community members in places like this, actually, this is by far not unique. I think there's one in the next mountain over I can see, but I can't quite make it out. And this need to go to high altitudes, high places, and for some reason, apparently, we still have that, and I'm standing here today because I wanted to go hike up a mountain. It's funny, people don't change. If you've been paying attention to the international agricultural news in Europe, there's, I don't know if you'd call it a kind of a spasm almost of protest and outrage at various different government policies, I think largely related to environmental policy. I'm not going to pretend to know details about really any of it because I have a hard enough time keeping track of what happens back home in Canada, let alone throughout the different countries of the European Union. But I can feel this tension. I can feel this tension here in Ireland. I felt it a bit in the UK as well, where farmers, some of them anyway, but it's definitely present, just seem to be fed up. And I'm sure it's a whole range of factors all coming together. But in a discussion I had yesterday, the political outcomes of fed up farmers, and particularly in countries like Ireland, where they have a particularly, my understanding is anyway, they have a particularly powerful lobby, and just because it contributes so much to the economy, that can have some major political repercussions. And when everybody's really angry, well, I don't know how that's going to go. It seems to be manifesting itself in an interesting kind of strain of farmer and conservative populism, as we're seeing in so many places. Part of the reason for being fed up for this level of anger, I think, that we're seeing is that a lot of people in the agricultural industry see the government and the wider public as not understanding that environmental policy and the impact of environmental policies and our environmental goals, whether that be climate change related or biodiversity or whatever, essentially stop, or rather begin before at the supermarket, and before that, essentially stopping at that level and then not being transferred to the individual consumer. And this person I was speaking with, his perspective was just food is probably going to be more expensive. We cannot continually have very cheap food and accomplish all of these goals and just expect farmers to take the brunt of a lot of these environmental goals, environmental policies designed to achieve these goals. Now, that's a huge generalization. Obviously, I'm not saying that right now to say I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm not saying I disagree with it. It's just, I think, important that we recognize where some of this anger is coming from, and I do think policymakers and the wider public need to recognize that as well, which means we as an industry, I think, need to do a better job of explaining this. I don't know what the solution is. I know there's a lot of people trying to do that very thing, but I guess it's just a reason you gotta keep on going, man. Because what I don't think we want to do is get to a point where, as with some European farmers, they're almost ready to burn the whole system down, right? So that's, you know what, European Union government, you keep all of your subsidies, you keep everything. I don't want anything to do with it anymore, but I also don't want anything to do with your environmental policies either. So I don't really want to see Canada get to a point where that's the kind of conversation and the kind of position that we're seeing more broadly. Boy, that's not pretty at all.